Why couldn't Russia stop the Ukrainian Leopards in front of Kursk? YouTube. /paint9nude.com/watch v equals fx. paint9q_QPQ. Transcript. 0000. The Russian Federation has faced an invasion of foreign forces on its territory from August 6, 2001. I was appalled to lose it. 4. The invasion of KSCA was an important milestone. With this move, the Ukrainian army completely ended the reputation of the Russian army in the international arena. Ukrainian forces have been controlling Russian regions for months, but how did they manage to invade Russia's KSCA bust? Let's get to the roots of this one. Of the most effective elements of the Ukrainian army's infiltration into KSCA was the supply of 37 main battle tanks from the west, among them Leopard 2 tanks, have a very strategic role. The Russians probably did not anticipate that these powerful main battle tanks would penetrate into the KSK interior. Footage from the front lines in the KSK region, which has been under attack by Ukrainian forces since the beginning of August, proved how the Ukrainian Army's Leopard 2A main battle tanks destroyed Russian military targets. In particular, in the village of Veselo, southwest of the KSK settlement of Glovo, the Ukrainian Army's 21st Mechanized 16 Brigade and 225th Assault Battalion, as well as supporting units, skillfully used Leopard 2 tanks to extend the military operation to Korono, and Leopard 2 main battle tanks made a difficult and chaotic battle much more advantageous for the soldiers of the 21st Mechanized Brigade. And the 225th Assault Battalion, who were on display in KSK, these tanks were some of the best vehicles in the Ukrainian inventory after the Ukrainian army continued to advance in KSK Oblast with its fleet of Leopard tanks. The Russians first 153 increased the number of troops in the region to 500 and then to 700 Zero Gene. Not content with this, the Kremlin, as you know, has also received support from 100 North Korean soldiers these days. Up to 8,000 North Korean soldiers are said to be still fighting in SK Oblast in Russian military uniforms. All these Russian measures were intended to keep Ukrainian forces using Leopard tanks out of Kor's interior. But in just a few weeks after August 6th, the Ukrainian army took control of more than 50 settlements and then over 100 villages. 11,150. 0 square kilm were out of Russian control. The Russian army, whose troop numbers increased in course with the arrival of North Korean troops, managed to retake some of the settlements from the Ukrainians. However, Ukrainian forces continued to send all Western tank and infantry armored vehicle units, including MANE Abrams and especially units using Leopard 2A main battle tanks, to further advance in Korskos. The Ukrainian Army's other Leopard 2 brigades, the 33rd and 155th Mechanized Brigades, used older and more numerous Leopard 2A4 models. But these tank types also showed up in KSK, and it was argued influenced the fate of the military campaign with the introduction of these powerful Western German tanks. The Russian army lost, 7, 8, 0 men from August 6 to November. This was a serious casualty value for Russia. In other words, the Ukrainians managed to trap the Russian army in KSKK with almost all of the Leopard tank types sent to them. The Ukrainian army did not achieve these successes in KSK with a large number of Leopards. Kiev received 1,107 Tuas, 6 from Germany, and these 50, Portugal, all of which arrived in 2023. The Ukrainian army is known to have 50 Leopard 2A4 tanks in its inventory. Spain's Defense Trade Control Board, on the other hand, has approved the transfer of 20X Spanish Army Leopard 2A4s to Ukraine. If confirmed, the tank commitment will bring to 74 the number of 55-ton four-seater Leopard 2A4s Ukraine has received from NATO allies. In addition, about 80 of the 40-ton four-catter Leopard 1 A5 tanks have already been sent to Ukraine. Counting all variations of the Leopard, the number of 30 tanks exceeds 150. Even if only half of these tanks were used, it is clear what this has done to Russia in KSK. Of course, the Ukrainians also suffer casualties in terms of the Leopard tanks they use to expand their military campaign in KSK. A video released by the Ukrainian Korn Group drone unit shows AS-TRV-122, or Leopard 2, A6, and a damaged 72 tank. The video showed an explosion in the lower part of the Leopard 286 tank used by the Ukrainian army when it was the target of Russian drone strikes in the fields southwest of Veselo. It's the Leopard 286. 14 is one of the best protected tanks in the world. None of the tank crew members were injured after the explosion. The Leopard 286 tank weighs around 70 tons, largely due to its thick layers of steel and composite armor. This incredible tank is the third-generation main battle tank and the second implemented upgrade of the Konvertsteigerung Capability Development Program for the Leopard 2A4. The A6 type has seen improvements to the vehicle's lethality, with a new, longer, straight-barreled main gun, with growing concerns over the effectiveness of the 50 Leopard 2A4 against the latest and future models of the Russian 72 and Tietz of Tidy tanks. Germany launched the Konvertsteigerung Capability Upgrade Program in 1988 to address the armor and firepower of the vehicles in three major upgrade projects. KWS-1 was involved a government of a new and more capable kinetic energy penetrator, which would require a new and more powerful main gun in the existing 120 mm caliber KWS-2, included improvements in protection and crew safety, and upgrades to electrical systems. KWS-3 completed the development. 32 of the new 140 main gun. The first upgrades implemented were those of the KWS-2 project and resulted in the Leopard 2A5. The KWS-3 project had actually started before the others, but was eventually abandoned because the length and weight of the shells made it impractical for a human loader, and a new turret with an automatic loader would have to be developed after the KWS-3 project was canceled in 1995. The KWS-S project delivered a new K penetrator. The DM-53, jointly developed with France, the new projectile had a 10 long penetrating rod, which required a new smoothbore main gun. Approval for the conversion of the Leopard 2AF5 into the Leopard 26 tank was given in 2000. Deliveries began the following year. There are quite a few variants of these tanks. Let's look at the Leopard 2X, produced in 1996. It was a technical demonstrator to showcase the Leopard 2A6 enhanced lethality capabilities, the full array of available upgrades to potential export customers. These included the Leopard 2 improved full Mexus modular armor system, a new Air 48 conditioning unit installed in the turret overhang, an auxiliary power unit installed in the rear of the hull, and a driver or commander vehicle navigation system. The vehicle has been tested in several countries, resulting in orders from Spain and Greece. Vehicle manufacturer KMW developed a technical demonstrator, the Leopard 2A6, which incorporated all the available upgrades they offered to potential export customers, resulting in orders for the Leopard 2E from Spain and the Leopard 2A6 HAL from Greece. The Leopard 2 Zixamop 24 received changes to internal components such as a new armored belly plate for the whole ammunition rack and a suspended driver's seat. These vehicles designated Leopard 286M were retired, which caused their designation to become obsolete and reused for Leopard 2 A6M. Plus, this was an upgrade program developed to bring the A6 to almost the same standard as the A7, but at a lower cost. Not all A7 upgrades were implemented. For example, no APU was installed, but the vehicles were fitted with upgraded thermal channel technology. Oh. 59. For Commander's Independent Site, a new Cadrel fire suppression system, and the A-SODA's IP communication system. After all upgrades were completed across the selected number of vehicles, the A6M Plus designation was removed and renamed as A6M Plus. These vehicles were all retired and went through the A6M Plus upgrade process. The Leopard 2 A6 mount is the command version of the Leopard 2 A6M. It is equipped with an additional CM93 radio. On the other hand, the Leopard 286 MAT II 1st Panzer Division is part of the German Army Intervention Force. It is a 41 multinational division and is integrated into the Dutch Tooth Mechanized Brigade, which also uses the Leopard 6 A43. In 2018, the German Leopard 2 AS66 management system upgrades received C2 and battlefield management system upgrades. They were also equipped with the same C2 and BMS used on the Dutch Leopard 2A6, so they could share battlefield information, and through these vehicles were renamed 2A6 Matois. Let's move on to the Leopard 2A6 Matri. These vehicles were the 101 A6, A6M, and A6 Matois upgrade planned for 2026. The exact details of the upgrade of 24 are unknown, but the German Army states that they will bring the earlier A6 to almost the same standard as the A7 model, but at a lower cost. The purpose of the upgrade is to standardize all active tanks to a similar capability, reducing operational costs and avoiding cross-training for crews. There is also the Leopard 256M can tank type. This is the Canadian version of the Leopard 206 tank. 20 of these tanks were loaned to the Canadian Army by the German Army for the Afghanistan War. These vehicles were fitted with the additional M-mine armor. 11. Package and other additional modifications for Canadian Army service, hence their new name, the Leopard 26 M-cans, are now owned by the Canadian Army. This is because the Canadian government purchased 20 extra Leopard CUA6 from the Netherlands and gave them to the German Army to replace the 20 originally on loan. The Leopard 2E. Should also be mentioned, this tank is a modified version of the Leopard 26 under Spanish license. The first 30 Leopard 2Es, called El Español, were built by KMW in Germany, while the remaining 189 were built in Spain in 2005. A total 41 of 30 vehicles of this type were delivered from KMW, while the remaining 140 vehicles were built in Greece by Elbo, the main contractor of the project. As we mentioned, Ukraine received several Leopard 2 models from various countries in different conditions. None of these tanks are the latest versions and have old armor. It is difficult to confirm the number of casualties. However, independent sources state that as of November 2023, they saw through media reports that at least 3 German Leopard 26s were either disabled or 16 destroyed. Despite these losses, the Leopard tanks have been a real game changer for Ukraine. Even though the Russian army had the capability to counter these tanks, it was unable to do so on the battlefield. This has led to an incredible increase in the number of Russian tank losses. Russian tank losses in Ukraine continue to be debated, with estimates ranging from 3,000 to 8,000. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry has claimed that Russia has about 8,000 tanks, along with more than 500 armored personnel carriers and about 214000 artillery systems. Estonia's Foreign Intelligence Service and the London-based International Institute for Strategic Studies have claimed that Moscow has lost more than 8,000 armored combat vehicles, including tanks and armored personnel carriers. Orax, a Dutch open-source intelligence analyst firm that has been tracking losses in Ukraine since the start of the war, reported that the Russian military has lost at least 3,179 tanks. This number includes only visually verified and confirmed casualties. So the actual losses could be 29. Much higher. The Kremlin has not confirmed the figures, but has claimed that Ukraine has lost a total of 13,537 tanks and other armored vehicles since the start of the war. The figure was notable because it is believed to be more than the number of vehicles Kiev has ever used, including those supplied by the West. In other words, Russia was trying to create a sensationalist agenda by trying to divert attention away from its own tank losses. In the same time frame, Moscow refurbished old tanks and sent them to the front. This included 4 less capable tanks, such as the Tate, and platforms that were well past their prime, such as the 62 and CR. The TH-50, 455 series tanks. The tank shortage in Russia was so pronounced that the annual Victory Day parade in Moscow featured only a single World War II era T-34 medium tank for the second year in a row. The Ukrainian army's use of Western armored vehicles on the battlefield, including Leopard tanks, has had a significant impact on this tank shortage. Known as the Russian tank killer, the Leopards have caused Moscow to worry about tank production. 42. But can the Kremlin afford the tank losses? Despite Western sanctions, Russia has done a good job of making up for losses, albeit with less capable, older tanks and other platforms. The British Defense Secretary estimated that Moscow could produce around 100 modern M battle tanks per month to replenish its forces in February. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that domestic tank production had increased fivefold and that efforts were being made to further increase production capacity. However, despite the low estimates, Russia is 17. Losing about 110 tanks a month, it is likely that monthly tank losses are higher. Experts have repeatedly questioned how long Russia can sustain such losses. But it should be remembered that throughout history, Russia has defied estimates of how long it can continue to fight. Russia's dangerous strength was to capitalize on its deep reserves. The latest assessment sheds more light on what the Russian military will be like when the wars finally end. The war in Ukraine is likely to show that Russia will never be able to 49 restore itself either in terms of tanks or other military resources. A year ago, analysts estimated that the Kremlin would need at least a decade to recover from the war. But more recent estimates suggest it could take as long as 5 years, as Russia is likely to remain in a war economy even when the dust settles. Whether Russia can truly recover while the war rages is anyone's guess. Only Western military aid to Ukraine can shed light on this uncertainty, as long as the West sends more and more modern and powerful battle tanks. 1623, especially Leopards to the Ukrainian army, it is very difficult for Russia to emerge from this war with an advantage. The equation is therefore simple. For victory, the Ukrainians need more tanks and military equipment. Since Russia cannot easily replenish its own military inventory, Leopard main battle tanks and armored infantry vehicles from the West will be crucial in deciding the fate of this war. Thank you for following us.